Almost exactly 3 months ago, this channel put out a leak divulging that the GPU market had effectively bottomed in pricing. And to be frank, this mostly stemmed from the fact that sales were legitimately picking up. Sure, the PC gaming community, rightfully so in my opinion, rejected price gouging in early 2023, but the second RDNA 3 products at least were priced correctly. That is to say, the 7900 XTs were being priced below $800 and the 7900 XTXs went below $900. Well, then they started selling very well. In fact, one interesting tidbit in that leak was that multiple retailers were telling me that they believe they messed up with how aggressive they got with Navi 31 discounts over the summer. They stated that $850 to $950 for the XTX and $750 to $800 for the XT was definitely enough to get sales to where they wanted them to be, and it wasn't necessary to go to the insane prices of, say, $700 and $800 respectively for those products, and unfortunately, they also would not be making that mistake again. And indeed, if you look around, that has remained true for 3 months. Sure, you might occasionally get lucky, but the floor on Navi 31 pricing has remained effectively in place. However, you were also warned that while some cards, like the 7900 XTX, had found where supply meets demand, others, like the RTX 4080, definitely would need to be corrected eventually, which gets me to the other interesting tidbit I have to highlight before getting to the new info, that as far back as a few months ago, I was already starting to hear that supply of GPUs were being intentionally throttled, and indeed 1 month after that, I divulged so much more information on the green side that Nvidia was responding to the increased pressure to lower GPU prices by effectively flipping over the chessboard and just not making those cards in any notable numbers for non-AI customers. And while that did seem like the logical decision to make at the time from a purely business perspective, I have to admit, now that plan has just had a wrench thrown into it, and I think I know how Nvidia is going to play this after speaking with some sources over the weekend. And I think you all deserve to know this information immediately so you do not get screwed over this holiday season. I didn't think this news update should wait until the upcoming Broken Silicon or for a special report video in the latter half of next week. I thought you all deserve to know now, and so here we go. Let me put this on screen. Now, the first source here, a major AIB, told me that they were just alerted by Nvidia in the past week that partner pricing for the RTX 4090 was going up. Remember, there's the MSRP Nvidia claims, and then there is the pricing that they tell partners they'll have to pay to get the BOM kits that they then use to build their actual 4090s. And this person estimated that with the price increases, entry-level models for the 4090 are now going to gravitate towards $1,800 and premium models towards $2,100. And another AIB told me that we should expect single-digit price increases on the RTX 4090 from here on out. But keep in mind what that means. When you have a product that's over $1,600 already, even a 10% pricing increase almost gets you to $1,800. So yeah, you're not going to see a 20, 30, 40% price increase on every model, but those $1,600 models, they're probably now going to be over $1,700. And another source, someone at a retailer, told me that a month ago, they would typically pay $1,500 to $1,600 for the cheaper 4090s, which doesn't allow much of a markup, but then they could pay $1,800 for the expensive ones and sell them for $2,000. But now they think that $1,700 is going to be the cheapest they can sell any 4090 for, and that's going to be sold at cost. Another retailer told me that all of a sudden, multiple 4090 SKUs were discontinued in their system, that they were alerted by Nvidia that what you have now is what you're going to have until the refresh. And a distributor also told me that the RTX Super series is coming and that Nvidia wants the announced pricing of said series to, in quotes, look good compared to recent norms by the time it's announced, suggesting that if prices go up over the holidays, that'll just make the new announced cards next year look better. And this was backed up by another distributor contact of mine who told me that 4090 supply is basically done for the rest of the year. This is interesting because they've sold enough of those cards to hit the numbers they need to report, and thus they shouldn't expect anything else until the Super refresh happens. But even if Nvidia isn't going out of their way to increase 4090 supply, Don't you people think that it's a little odd pricing is still going up when the amount of available markets has gone down? That's less people that can buy it in the same amount of supply. Shouldn't 4090 prices still at least remain the same, if not go down? Well, I'm now going to explain what I'm hearing about what Nvidia is doing to ensure 4090 prices stay up over the holiday season. I'm also going to talk about what I expect from the Super series, but first, an ad from a sponsor. Jessie sometimes needs a bit of encouragement to do the right thing. Everything is basically a game to her, and if it's especially for food, she wants to win it. I'm not all that sure people are different, though, honestly. At least, I'm not. I often concentrate better on something if there are basic rewards and entertainment involved. And I can't help but wonder why more companies haven't realized this, that people learn better when it's fun and kind of gamified. But at least one company has, Boot.dev. This piece of content is brought to you by Boot.dev, a company that's trying to tackle the hardest problem with teaching backend development through e-learning. Boredom. That's right, boredom. And it can be done, they think, using tactics learned from modern game design. They use hands-on lessons that balance theory with practice and make things fun by allowing you to earn XP, levels, and achievements, and complete quests to get top spots on global leaderboards. The platform is designed to get you writing a ton of code, because getting your hands on the keyboard and shipping projects is really the only way to learn this. And don't worry, it is designed to teach you back-end web development from start to finish, with both Python and Go programming languages at a pace that you are comfortable with. And there's an active Discord community to help you learn collaboratively if you ever have a question. Support Moore's Law is Dead by clicking on the link in the description box and use code BROKENSILICON to get 25% off your first payment at boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or year, depending on the subscription you choose. And remember, using code BROKENSILICON helps the channel a ton, and even just clicking on that link in the description helps as well. Check out boot.dev today. Alright, so I just leaked that indeed, RTX 4090 prices should be going up over the holiday season, at least to what partners pay, but that means it should also go up to what customers pay. And do remember this, there is this thing called an MSRP, but that does not dictate the price you have to pay. I've already leaked that behind the scenes, Nvidia has reduced pricing on the 4070 and 4060 Ti without any official MSRP changes, and so yeah, there can be de facto price drops, there already have been, but there can also therefore then be de facto price raises, and that's basically what's happening with the 4090 very soon. And, well, but why would the price be going up with the 4090 if now several regions cannot buy it and the supply, at least in the short term, is remaining the same? Well, at first, I suspected that might be because Nvidia was going to rush ship 4090s from Asia to the European Union, the United States, and other regions, right? If you were just told that you're Nvidia and you can't sell a certain product into a certain region, but you have all these cards stockpiled there, wouldn't you then have to pay exorbitant shipping costs to get it to other regions? Maybe that's why the price is going up. And I was pretty firmly told that is not the case by several of my best sources, and some of them are, I don't know, let's just say information brokers in Asia. I don't really want to get into where some of my best sources are because we'll just leave it at that. But what I will say is some of them divulge very similar outlines for why 4090 prices would be going up. And only one of them allowed me to quote them on the condition that I didn't say what country they were specifically in, nor their name, of course. And so I want to put that on screen now. All right, so this person, one of my best sources for years, actually told me that Nvidia isn't likely to shift 4090 supply from Asia to elsewhere in any large numbers this fall. Shipping containers now cost a pile of gold bars to secure at the last minute, since it's now the holiday season. And deep down, Jensen knows that enterprising individuals will find ways to get their AI cards into China with an exorbitant markup, likely through Hong Kong, I was actually told, since Vietnam is blocked. But Hong Kong, you can still, if you look online, get 4090s for reasonable prices, and there's plenty of people there that will find a way to smuggle them into mainland China. Now, what Nvidia is supposedly going to do is use this as an excuse to raise prices outside of Asia to be more in line with what's going on around China, and then hope that average GPU pricing, so if a 4090 becomes 2,000, then there will be more people that say, I'll pay 1,200 for a 4080, and then there will be more people that will say, oh, well, I'll pay maybe over 900 for a 4070 Ti, and they're hoping for a rolling effect that stabilizes prices slightly above MSRP into early next year. And Nvidia is assuming that most shoppers will see this and go, well, it's the holiday rush. Prices usually go up a bit. They won't bat an eye. And then by CES, whatever super cards Nvidia announces will look extra reasonably priced. You see, Nvidia doesn't want to announce a, I don't know, $900 4070 Super 16 gigabyte if there are 4080s on the market for $1,000 or lower. They want the 4080 to look like it's maintaining its $1,200 MSRP easily, so if they announce a $900, basically de facto 4080 replacement, everyone goes, wow, this is crazy, and they don't go, well, who cares? I can already get a 4080 for that price basically already. Although, let me be clear about something. I do think that Nvidia is going to have to do something at least about RTX 4080 segmentation with their new Super refresh. In fact, I thought it would be fun to show you some recent testimonials I've heard about 4080 sales on screen. I wasn't originally intending to talk about it too much, but they are absolutely hilarious, so let me put them up here. One AIB seriously suggested to me in non-hyperbolic terms this week that the 4080 is literally the worst selling high-end card in their history. And another source, one that is very high up at a retailer, told me that they don't even order 4080s anymore. And so, look, I do not personally have any confirmation on what the exact Super Series SKUs will be at, but according to my sources, nobody else actually does. People I spoke to at Nvidia directly told me, like they usually do, that they don't really want to leak anything because they don't want to get in trouble or hurt their company's competitiveness, but that they would tip me off to a couple things, like the fact that they have not made the decision yet on what the Super Series looks like, that anyone out there claiming so, no, they're making it up. They're pulling it completely out of their ass. Nvidia has not decided the exact specs of the Super Series yet. But with that in mind, and with the mindset of what's going on with 4080 sales, I think I can pretty comfortably suggest that there is likely to be some sort of 4070 Super and 4080 Super to basically resegment the 8103 products out there to be more competitive. And I do think that I wouldn't double down yet on there being an 8102. The 8102 is the die that the 4090 uses. I wouldn't bet that they'll use that die again for a 4080 Ti or 4080 Super. I'm not saying they won't, and I have no information telling me they won't, but if I was Nvidia and I was looking at all of these export controls on their 4090, which uses 8102 across China, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, and again, I've specifically been told that it's not the 4090, that Nvidia's partners have been warned that all future 8102 products are going to cost a lot more. Well, then if I was Nvidia, I would focus on making 8103 as competitive as possible to hopefully avoid some future bans, right? So if you look at the 4080 die here, here's the gist of the specs. It's not really, it doesn't need to be a bad product. It's just poorly implemented right now. And thus, instead of doing some 102-based 4080 Super, what I would do is simply push it as hard as possible. Remember, the 4080 is currently cut down, and try to get it within 20% of the performance of the 4090 with specs somewhere around here. Remember, this is speculation, but I think it's informed speculation that's not that wild. And trust me, the 4080 cooler, which is just a 4090 cooler with a different name on it, can handle the full 103 die easily. I'm sure it can handle faster memory and at least a 350, if not honestly 400 watt TDP to get it boosting way higher. And heck, if they use 24 gigabit per second memory, which they're not even using yet on the RTX 4080, and push this thing so it's always boosting at 2.8 gigahertz or higher with an almost fully enabled die or fully enabled die, I bet they could honestly make the 4080 Super with 8103 probably within 15% of the performance of the 4090, while using, of course, 8103, a significantly smaller die than 8102, so there's better margins, and also without hopefully getting into as many export controls with this product. And this could be a product they push into China super hard, but then also maybe slip into the United States market at $1,000 to $1,200. And now it would be a firm like 15% stronger, or maybe 10% stronger than the 7900 XTX, and maybe it would sell a bit better. And, if they push it super hard, the 4080 Super, well, that means they would have a lot of yields they now need to disable because it's being pushed harder than the existing card. And so if I put the existing 4080 specs on screen right now, yeah, I think they would then launch something that's like a 4070 Super that uses 8103, just cut down slightly with a 280 to 300 watt TDP, which remember, we've already seen that the 4080 basically never consumes 320 watts. So I'm sure it could just use the cheaper 4070 cooler. And then, yeah, they could just drop probably something within 10% of the performance of a 4080 with a reasonably sized cooler at $900. And yeah, I think that thing would sell significantly better. Although, I have to be honest, I don't think this would necessarily be a death blow to AMD. Based on what I am hearing out there, it's not even a question. Like 9 out of 10 people choose the 7900 XTX over the 4080 right now because it has more RAM, specifically 50% more VRAM, and it's a cheaper price. So with 9 out of 10 people choosing the 7900 XTX over the 4080, if you launched a version of the 4080 that was actually 10% weaker, so that means 10% weaker than a 7900 XTX, still has that VRAM deficit. Even if it was $900, if AMD responded with a final official price cut to the 7900 XTX to $900, then I don't think AMD has that much to worry about. They'd still have something stronger with 50% more RAM at the same price. I don't think it would sell as well as it did relative to the 4080, but I think it would still sell okay. And certainly if Nvidia insisted on charging $1,000 for the 4070 Super, and it ended up weaker than the 7900 XTX, I think AMD would be fine. Again, their sales would suffer a bit, but they're really good right now. I mean, contacts of mine tell me that the 7800 XT continues to sell incredibly well. Many retailers, many locations can't keep the thing in stock, and even the 7700 XT is selling, well, worse, but not god-awful. Like, they don't think they need to drop the 7700 XT to $400 for it to sell okay. Anytime they drop it to $440 or $430, it sells fine, and so they think it's going to do okay between like $420 and $440 for the foreseeable future. And of course, the XT and XTX 7900 cards are selling fine as well. All right, so now I've gotten through all of the leaked information, how I think AMD would respond to a Super Series. What's my final shopping advice for this fall? Well, I would say buy the 4090 now if you want one for a reasonable price. But don't rush out and buy the 4080. That one is going to get some changes in a few months, I believe. And I just think it's a horrible product now, and nobody should bother buying it. If you really need Nvidia, I mean, I'd still probably pay $1,800 for a 4090 than $1,100 for a 4080. It's just a boring card. It's stupid. It's oversized, overpriced, and it's going to look really dumb if you buy it now in a few months. As for RDNA 3, well, I expect that there could be maybe some official price cuts in a few months, but I don't think the effective street price is going to go down all that much until after the holiday season. And so just like the advice I gave a few months ago, don't wait. If you see a 7900 XTX for $1,000, it's not really a bargain. But if you see one for $900 or certainly $850, I don't think you're going to get a much better deal than that for months now. And just enjoy it over the holiday season. And the same goes for any 7900 XT at $750. I warned everybody that those $700 cards were going to be a flash in the pan, and so far they have been. I think that's going to remain true. It's cheaper than the 4070 Ti with, what is it, over 50% more RAM? Yeah, 20 gigabytes versus 12. More performance. It's just a good deal at $750 compared to everything else out there. And I don't recommend hoping it hits $650. I don't think that's going to happen. And you know what? That's actually going to do it for this video. I've said all I have to say, and I just want to get this out before you all go to bed on Sunday night. So please hit the like button, double check that you're subscribed to the Moore's Law is Dead YouTube channel and ring the bell button so you don't miss all of that upcoming content. And if you enjoyed this video, stick around. Check out all of the content that's come out over the past week. There was a lot of pent up stuff to put out after I got back from vacation. An excellent interview with a lawyer, multiple die shrinks that have come out in the past couple of weeks, including interviews with people modding PC VR2 to PC. And, consider supporting us on Patreon. If you do, you'll get early ad-free access to the upcoming Broken Silicon, the ability to ask us questions, and all of that, some of that premium content I already mentioned. But for everybody else, no matter what, thank you for watching.